It's no secret that Kenneth Copeland is the wealthiest pastor in America. But what people aren't telling you is how this Texas televangelist morphed into the swivel-eyed $750 million scam evangelist he is today. Ken has flaunted his opulent lifestyle for decades. But when a journalist confronted him in 2018 about using church funds to purchase Tyler Perry's $17 million private jet, he quickly went from charismatically controversial to undeniably deranged. The Copeland's financial empire rests on a solid foundation of outrageous behavior like raising people from the dead, healing Johnny Cash before a concert, curing diseases, disabilities, and even mental illness. To solidify his spot in the handbasket of hell, in 2020 he claimed to use his spiritual authority to internationally end the COVID-19 pandemic. Ken maniacally blew the wind of God at viewers, then declared the virus over. It wasn't. Sarah survived COVID, then she survived Kenneth, and 4 years later, she's ready to talk. Some of the information Sarah shared with me is honestly pretty shocking, so stick around if you want to hear some of those darker details. A wolf in sheep's clothing is certainly scary, but a wolf in shepherd's clothing, well, that's entirely evil. I was thinking about doing some research on Kenneth a little bit more before we talked, and then I stopped myself and I was like, no, I actually just want to hear all of the inside tea. I can find out the Googleable stuff later. Tell me everything.
Yeah, there's not a lot. Even my boyfriend, like whenever, because he's from a completely like different world, whenever he Googled it, he was like, yeah, there's like nothing bad out there. And I was like, they take everything down.
I was gonna say, I have seen bad stuff online about him.
There's like the video
but
about the jet.
yeah, and there's some of him like screaming and just being like chaotic AF in and outside of church. But is that your experience? Is that what he's like?
So a little backstory, I grew up in the church, and then at 18, because of Kenneth Copeland and his connections, I ended up in an actual cult from the years of 18 to 20. So when I left that, I ended up back at his church, but you're not allowed to talk to him because
He's
you
too
might
cool.
like interrupt the anointing.
The flow of bullshit shall not be interrupted.
No one's allowed to talk to him unless you're like his personal like security or like working for him directly.
Wow, what a great human being he sounds like. Did your parents grow up in his church? I know you said you were like born and raised in it.
So my parents found him when I was like 8 or 9. I think maybe a couple years later. It's all kind of fuzzy. I blocked it out.
As one does.
As one does for, trauma responses, you block
Absolutely.
it all out. The first like vivid memory I have is I was 12, and that's when we started going to like their big conventions they have every year. So I went to the one that was in Wisconsin for 1 or 2 years, and then we started going to the one in Texas. So I grew up doing that every year.
What happens at the conventions? And can I just I'm sorry, I have to do convention. I'm sorry. It had to be said.
Convention, it had to be said.
Convention. It wanted to come out so bad.
We can call it the convention if you want.
Convention.
So I attended, and I've also worked multiple of them. So that is wild. Attending, in the use, like the first service is at 9 a.m. And there's 9 to, I think, 12, and then 1 to 4, and then 6 to whenever God says we're done. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you'd be there from 9 a.m. in the morning until 2 a.m. and then they expect you to come back the next day.
You got to let the Spirit lead. Don't interrupt the Spirit when he's moving.
No, of course not. But what is sleep?
What is sleep when you're anointed?
Who needs food and water?
No, not you.
No, not me. Yeah, there's times like even just attending, they'd let you out at 12:30 and then they'd expect you back at 1 because that's the time God told them.
That's so annoying. What's annoying is that it's not actually God saying that, it's just so frustrating and infuriating for me personally to witness it. And I know you being in it had to be even more so. Come on, guys. It's not about God. At this point, it's not about God anymore, but I digress. So at these conventions, I guess, like, attending tell me what happened at the conventions, like, attending them versus working at them?
So working, I have worked. They do kids, youth, and adults. I have worked all three. So it's a
Mm,
very
you made your
interesting.
rounds.
I did make my rounds. The kids weren't horrible. I mean, little kids are just adorable. Like you're too busy trying to wrangle them in to pay attention.
Yeah, just chaos.
Just complete chaos. But like the youth, you're responsible for setup, tear down. I was the bouncer at the door, so no one could get in.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, I'll be like, "Excuse me, sir."
God
Uh,
said no.
God said, "Not
God.
today. I need you to leave." I didn't mind working it, but by like, so it would be Monday through Saturday.
Did you get paid?
No,
Yeah, I was afraid of that.
no, they
That's
don't.
that's actually, labor trafficking as the federal
Yeah.
government calls it, but
So when the other cult that I was in, they had actually hired them out to work at the convention.
what other cult was it? Can you say?
It's called Go Ministries International. They're based out of Louisiana.
Goal Ministries?
Go
Oh,
Ministries.
Go
Go Ministries
Ministries.
International. I don't know if they're still around, but like I completely blame Kenneth for me ending up in that cult because that's how I
Wow.
was introduced to
Was he
them.
so let me get this straight. They went to Kenneth Copeland's church basically wanting to outsource labor.
Yeah, so they paid for the hotel and then they gave us like a per diem. They did, but they didn't like pay us in cash. Like
Of
they
course,
paid for our food
which is
because,
not payment, that's survival.
no, exactly. Like you're trying to keep me alive. And even then, sometimes, like I remember one night we had 10 minutes to eat dinner.
What kind of work did they have you do at Go Ministries?
Kind of the same things, the whole unpaid labor trafficking. Um, so we ran a ministry,
Mhm.
but it was based very heavily on Kenneth and his teachings. So I'm still dealing with an eating disorder because Kenneth has this whole thing where if it's not an appropriate meal time to eat, then you should not be eating, even if you're hungry.
Where's that biblical? Like,
Exactly. So he said, like, you need to take authority over your stomach and tell it to not be hungry.
does
Yeah,
has this
I
man ever
know.
taken, like, a science class in his life
I
or
don't know. I haven't listened to him in so long, but the first time he did it, he laid out like very specific like times, like appropriate breakfast time. Then if you wanted a snack, this is when you could eat it. So the other cult I was in very strictly followed that.
was the expectation to follow that even outside of work hours, or was that okay, so it wasn't just
Mhm.
enforced while you were on the unpaid clock, it was kind of like a lifestyle thing he expected.
Yeah, and then even when I worked like paid staff for the ministry, everything was expected. Like you were supposed to act like you were getting paid even when you were off the clock.
It's just the dynamic of a cult, and I'm sorry, I'll just come out and say that Kenneth Copeland's church is a cult based on literally everything about it.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
but it's just so interesting to figure out why people buy in so heavily to some of these rules, like such like the eating restrictions, for example. So even when you're outside of that and you don't have someone like telling you eat during this time, snack during this time, or just tell your stomach you're not hungry at this time. What enforces that outside of church time?
I don't know. I look back on it and I was talking to one of my friends about it and I was like, I feel like these stories aren't crazy, but I think it's because I was raised in it.
Yeah.
Like when we started going, it wasn't like that. Like it
Oh,
was not
really?
anywhere near, like when I was 8 or 9, it was not anywhere near what it is now.
So how do you think it got to where it is now?
Power and money.
Greed of
Yeah.
all of that.
100% greed.
As we say in the South, he got too big for his britches.
He got way too big for his britches. That's part of the reason I quit.
Yeah, I don't know. His ego might not even fit. through a door at this point.
I don't think so. I mean, you never see him around anymore, so
That's why. We figured it out.
it's his ego stopping him.
It just simply won't fit. What were some of the other weird rules or crazy rules that he expects from people? And hold on, before you answer that,
Mhm.
didn't you tell me your parents still go to his church?
Yes, they do. My
Are they
mom
okay?
is very heavily involved. My dad kind of sees what's wrong with it, but he actually gets paid to do sound, which he loves, like, running the sound.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, that's hard to get out of, especially when you've been kind of involved in something that long and you're that integrated work-wise and family-wise and all of that. It's
Yeah, it
difficult.
was I stopped, like, believing, I guess, when I was, like I'm 30 now. When I was, like, 24, 25, I think, and I ended up quitting there when I was 27 27? Yeah.
Did you receive any kind of backlash?
Um, a little, but not a ton. I think they knew it was coming because I had just completely disconnected. They had started saying some things that I was like, "Oh, this is kind of becoming." I was like, "This is
Yeah.
definitely a cult now." Like I don't want to be here anymore. And then COVID was a fiasco.
Hmm.
Like that was horrible.
Did his church stay open?
Yes, they did. We stayed open. I am type 1 diabetic. I had asked them like, "Hey, I'm immune compromised. Can I work remote?" Because I worked accounts receivable.
Mhm.
So I was like, "I can work remote," and they told me no because then they couldn't watch me work. And I was
What?
like, "You can run my numbers."
Yeah.
They're like, "Well, we can't make sure you're actually working."
So, they would rather you risk getting COVID and potentially dying, but since you're
Yeah.
already immunocompromised, that
Mhm.
is worth the risk so they can keep tabs on you because that's
Yeah.
what it was about.
And then we weren't really allowed to like go to the bathroom unless it was break times. I got pulled aside one time. My boss when I worked there was amazing. I still talk to her. But her and then another supervisor because I was in the bathroom for 10 minutes. And
Okay.
I had a lady emergency and I had to take care of it. And they said, "Oh, well, can you just hold it next time?"
Please tell me how to do that. What?
I would love to do that.
That's wild.
Yeah, that was, like, one of the first, like, major red flags I had. I was like, "Okay." Like, I was having, like, little red flags, but I was like,
That's a
"Mm,"
pretty major
and
one.
yeah.
Yeah, what? That's what I mean, it's interesting because in all of my research on just all kinds of cults, there's so many common denominators, but one of the things that
Mhm.
I've really picked up on is the paranoia that leadership often has towards members because the more wrong that they're doing or the more, controlling they become also increasingly more paranoid that those people are going to rebel or talk shit about them or, like, try to do something behind their back, and so then it just
Mhm.
becomes, like, even more strict as a means of controlling. So unhealthy.
Yeah, like, even to this day, like, I still struggle just, like, making decisions
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
wasn't allowed to make decisions when I worked there, even though I've been
literally.
out for so long. I say so long, it's been, like, 6 years, but it's feels a lot longer. Like, I just struggle to make decisions, and because they
Yeah.
controlled what we ate, like, sometimes I'm like, I can't pick what I want to eat.
Wow. I totally get that, and it sucks, and it takes forever to
Yep.
undo, it feels like. It's like
Yeah, like
they can get away with causing all of this multi-level damage, like, mentally, physically, emotionally, even something like making decisions because you don't really have autonomy in that way, like, no one's physically chaining you there, making you stay, and that's how they I feel like that's how they can get away with saying,
Mhm.
"We're not a cult. We're not for anyone can come and go as they please." But it's all of this tethering that's done in the mind and in the emotions and spiritually through all of these, like, crazy, like, covert tactics. So, yeah, you
Yeah.
have no autonomy,
Yeah, their
no
big one is,
choice.
like, the will of God. Like, they
Mhm.
make you fearful of being out of the will of God, and they make you think that their ministry is the only.
Right, of course. Every ministry is the only.
I was like, "What?" Like, when I went to leave Texas, they were like, "How can you leave God's chosen church?" And I was like, "Pretty sure God doesn't choose a single church."
Yeah, I thought God was the people, you
Yeah,
know?
I was like, like, I'll be fine."
Yeah, pretty okay with that even. And you think God, if Jesus was here, do you really think he would, A, come to America? Ew, no. Uh, and B, go to Texas? Double ooh. So, probably not.
Yeah, no.
What denomination is it exactly? Is it like a non-denominational or is this I can't remember.
I think it's technically evangelical. The only news updates I get are from Twitter, and it's because that's the only place you can find when something crazy goes down.
Facts. Girl, I don't even have Twitter. I'm that old. I'm older than you, so
I
I'm
have
out
it
of the
for
loop.
I have it for gaming, but
Mm.
that's it.
Actually, that's a lie. I did create a Twitter account, or I'm sorry, X account the other day just so I could research something a little bit more because it wouldn't show me everything that I wanted to see.
Oh.
Um, that's the only I used it for snooping research purposes. That's it.
Yeah, I follow, like, a lot of gamers, but then I just snoop.
Mm. I'm big on snooping.
I am too.
I'm a nosy bitch.
I have a separate Instagram account
You
to
you
look at
got
the people that have blocked me.
you gotta. Sometimes you just gotta. Oh, what other dirt do we need to know about Kenneth?
I did talk to a couple people that have been around a lot more, like a lot longer than I have, and I was like, "Hey, is there anything like you want to like talk about?" And a lot of it
Yeah.
was just about being a woman.
Ooh,
Yeah.
tell me. What's it like being
They
a woman in Kenneth Copeland's church?
well, the I don't know if he's still there or not, but when I worked there, the director of HR was known for harassing women.
The
And if
director of HR? Of
HR,
course.
yeah, of
Of
course, because
course.
why not? He's like 5'2". I'm like, "Okay."
I'm picturing, like, Lord Farquaad right now.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
So, I'm
Um,
assuming he was never held accountable for anything.
no, because he's the head of HR. What are they gonna do?
Diddly
Nothing.
squat.
Exactly, and last I knew, he was still there.
What's his name? Do you
Hector.
know?
Yeah.
Oh, Hector. Come on. That's like
Dude, like, he skips it away.
that's I should have just guessed that.
Hector.
Of course it's Hector. I don't even know this person. I haven't even seen him, but I've seen him in my
Yeah.
mind. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a Hector.
Like, it's probably who you're visualizing exactly.
Yeah. Do you have specific examples of what, he has done?
Most of it so it happened to me just one time in the gym. Of course, it was in the gym. They didn't give me any specific examples. I didn't pry
Gotcha.
because I know it's kind of sensitive, but mine was
Sure.
in the gym, and I was in leggings, and he made, like, some snide comment about,
Gross.
like, what I was wearing, and I was like, "Ew."
Gross Hector.
I
You don't
wasn't
get to
even alone, like, there were other women with me, and all we were all like, "Ew, what?"
Yeah, isn't that also disturbing though? Like, not just in the church, but in general, but especially gross in the church where they should know better and in HR, but when they get so brazen to the point of making comments like that in front of people, they don't even try to be
Yeah, I'm
secret
like,
about
"What
it.
are you doing?"
They know there's not gonna be any consequences. I would be interested to run all of the people in the leadership. You know what? I'm gonna start a little side project. I should do that, and just run the backgrounds or just search all of leadership in these churches and see if they're like registered sex offenders and things like that because there's so many and so many churches
Yeah,
that are in leadership positions that have known criminal records. Not
yeah.
saying Just
Not
just
saying
to cover my
Hector.
ass, Hector, I'm not saying that's you, buddy, but
Yeah, it's just insane. But that goes to my next story in typical church fashion. They covered up a staff member that was sexually assaulting
oh,
girls.
like
I
underage
was
girls?
I was 21
Ooh,
and I just could like tell something was off about him. So I was trying to keep him away from the underage girls and
mhm.
I ended up getting assaulted.
No.
And then I found out, so this was 8 months after I left the other cult. I was
Mhm.
immediately just assaulted.
Are you
And then
kidding
I
me?
found out a couple years afterwards because somebody posted it, like put him on blast on Facebook
Oh, shit.
because he had raped her for years. I won't say
Oh
her
my
name,
god no.
but yeah, he had been assaulting her for years. And then I know one of my other friends, he had tried to go after her as well. He had made
What?
multiple like harassing comments to most of the women at that church.
Were these friends, were they underage girls at the time? Not that I mean,
Um,
it's still wrong either way.
the one that was several years was like she was 16 or 17
Mm,
when he started, and then they had like a pregnancy scare, and she went to church leadership, and of course they did nothing.
yeah, that's the
And
move.
that, yep, unfortunately, that's the move. I think she threatened to sue or like go actually public, and so that's when
Mhm.
they fired him.
Yeah, it's not
So,
yeah, so they didn't fire him because it was the right thing to do and because there needed to be
no.
to protect other girls and women, it's because it's a PR thing.
Most of the stuff they do is PR, unfortunately. Like, the amount of times I've heard you need to do this because it makes us look bad.
Really?
Mhm.
I haven't ever gone personally to, like, a televangelist type
Don't.
church, but
Don't.
I can imagine I mean, it's already very much about about your image, whether, like, across the board, church, cult, whatever, it's very much about image and presenting yourselves in a certain way for the public to see. Everyone just has kind of different standards across the board, but I imagine that's, like, even I imagine that's, escalated in that type of church where it's literally televised.
Mhm. Yeah, they are very big into appearances. Like, I know they pulled a couple of the heavier set people aside and told them they needed to lose weight because it was making the pastors George and Terry look bad.
Nice.
Yeah, and then about 6 months before I quit, they were saying how we all needed to dress and act the same. It was like telling us what diet we needed to eat.
What the is all of
Yeah.
this coming from is there like a mid-leadership team where this is coming from, or is this coming from
So there's like
Kenneth?
Kenneth who's at the top, and then it's his daughter.
I didn't know that.
She's a bitch. And then her husband, who's the pastor of the church.
Okay,
So those
okay.
are like the three like top people.
The 3 shit stains.
Yeah. The three shit stains, yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't have a problem with, bullying shitty people, bullying abusers. I think it's perfectly fine.
I'm slowly getting into that.
Yeah.
My boyfriend, bless his heart, is so gentle with me and is like trying to be like, hey, you can like, if people are mean, you can say that they're mean.
Yeah.
Cause that's one of the things is how you should like never talk bad about anybody. And he was like, if they're shitty, you can say they're shitty.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not gossip if it's true shit, especially when it's about abuse or
Yeah,
sketchy things that are hurting people. No, but they're banking on the fact that you won't talk about it. It's not even talking shit, it's just talking the truth.
about
But, they're banking on the fact that
yeah,
none of
I
us
like
will ever say
a couple
anything.
people. Yeah, I messaged a couple people and I was like, we didn't sign NDAs, right? Cause they do. Like,
Oh,
I guess, like, if you leave on bad terms, they make you sign an NDA. I don't know if that's still a thing. It was never confirmed, but it was a very prominent rumor
yeah.
'cause of
Well,
course, if it's an NDA, you're not allowed to be like, "Oh, hey, I signed an NDA."
right? There's no way they don't make people sign NDAs. As much crap as I've heard and what you're telling me takes
Like, they
place there.
have to.
Yeah.
Like, all I remember signing was a confidentiality agreement just because I worked in accounting. Like, that's all I
Mhm.
remember. Which the fact that a church has accounting department is, like, insane. For that many people to work in accounting, insane.
Yeah. A lot of these churches also have, I don't know if that one did or not, or if you would know, have lawyers on retainer specifically for sex crimes within the church because it's become so prevalent in churches across the board that they they keep lawyers on hand, on retainer for these allegations and incidents, and
Mm.
that's how a lot of it gets swept under the rug too, is because it's handled outside of court. It never actually goes on record.
I don't know if they have one specifically for that, but I know they do have lawyers on retainers.
Hmm. How much is that church worth? Now I'm
The
being nosy.
church, I'm not sure. Kenneth, last I heard, was almost 800,000,000.
I thought money was the root of all evil. Oh, wait, money must be the root of all evil. Looking at this guy. I'm Googling it right now because 'cause I'm nosy.
Yeah, last I heard, it was like 760 or 770. I don't know if it's gone up or not. Most of it's because, of those fancy jets that they have that they don't even use. So,
That's like what, Wikipedia is saying. As of
okay.
2021, 750,000,000.
Okay, yeah. So it's got to be close to 800 then.
Oh my gosh. Has no business. Because, how is that money being, or what percentage of that money, and maybe you do know this from being in accounting, is put back into the community or into things that actually help people and aren't just PR facing type of stunts?
Oh boy, that's one of the things that like pissed me off so
Uh-oh.
much is because they have a gay in need fund, like like a benevolent fund to like help people in need, and we
Mhm.
would have like they call them partners, the people that like regularly give. We would have people
Okay.
that have been like partners for like 20 plus years writing in, "Hey, I can't pay my rent. Can you help?" Rejection every single time.
What is the point?
I have no idea. Like I don't know, like the money just like sits there. And then they started doing like these telethon things every year because they have TV channels now,
Mhm.
which every time when I worked there they brought in like an extra 10 million, and we're like, none of us know where the money is going.
Oh, you know what? Here's what I'm reading. I did not know this. You probably knew it. It says, because I was looking up, like, what denomination
Mhm.
it is, and it says he preaches prosperity theology and part of the Word of Faith movement, which teaches that divine favor is expressed in material and financial blessing, and that giving to ministries unlocks that favor.
Yep,
This little motherfucker.
prosperity gospel.
He also well, he was on apparently Donald Trump's, council board when he was running for president. Didn't know that.
He was the first time around in 2016, I think. It did not
Yeah.
last very long.
I would like to see those 2 in a room together. With both of their egos, I bet they didn't get along.
I don't think they did. I just know all of the sudden they weren't really doing anything anymore together. Like I know they have a show called Flashpoint, which is like their version of the news.
Mm.
And I know Trump has been on that program, but not
Mm.
with Kenneth.
Oh, gotcha,
So
gotcha. This guy is he also, has made statements linking measles vaccines to autism.
yeah, they are very anti-vaccine. There was a measles outbreak in like
I remember
2015 or
that.
2016. Yep. And they once again refused to shut down the church. So,
Did y'all have an uptick in measles within the congregation?
Mhm. If I remember correctly, it was someone that had gone, like, on a missions trip to Africa or something and came back with it. I'm not entirely sure.
That's weird because I grew up not having any vaccines until I was in my 20s, and I was born with autism, so that's really weird. How did I get it if I didn't have a measles vaccine? Huh, weird. It's almost like that's not science or something.
Right? What is science?
Well, I mean, I think it's proven in this conversation alone that science isn't their strong point.
No, it's not.
Wow. These people are fun.
Fun is a word. So this came from I confirmed it with a couple different sources just to
I can appreciate
make
that.
sure. So I was like, this is like even for Kenneth is a little outlandish, but I have like a faint memory of it. I guess they cut it from the recording and he was talking about worship. And have you ever seen like black people, how they worship God, how they're so into it? And then he goes, this is why I think the devil is black. Yeah. There's no recordings because they cut it before they posted it, but I confirmed it with two sources. So, yeah.
I can literally feel
Like
my
my
heart rate.
yeah, mine is too. I was like, I want to punch a wall right now.
No, I wanna punch Kenneth.
That too. That would
That
work.
directly, and I'm not condoning violence, but maybe don't be a racist piece of shit, and
Like,
then
that's like I was like, "I'm sorry." Like, I have this, like, vague memory, even when I worked there, hearing something about it, and I was like, "Okay." Like, I remember just, like, hearing something about, like, worship and devil, and I was like, "Okay, whatever." And then people started talking about it, and then these 2 people were like, "Yeah, this happened." And I was like, "Oh my god."
I wonder if that original file exists somewhere. They cut it out before they posted it, but I won
It probably does. Like, I doubt they erased it.
Right, because I mean, once shit's recorded, it
It's
li
there.
kinda lives forever.
Exactly.
It's traceable. How long ago what would that have been? Like, decades?
Probably
Yeah,
Probably 10 or
and
15 years at most.
that's probably largely due to the fact that his over time, he's, really refined the PR and the political like, what's politically correct and how to, counteract any negative publicity, and like you said, didn't you say, like, a lot of the negative stuff online is just not there anymore anyway? Like, they kind of purge
Yep,
the
they
web.
very quick to purge and scrub. Like, they have a specific team that just keeps an eye on stuff like that.
That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad if you need a whole ass team for scrubbing the shit stains that you're leaving across the world because you're a giant piece of shit.
Like, I know the like, social because I had a friend that used to work in the social media team, and part of their job was to watch the comments, and, like, anything negative, they were supposed to delete and block that person.
Wow. I believe that.
I know, I was like, "I am not surprised. I should be,
Yeah.
but I'm not."
Let me go back to the race comment that he made. That made me start thinking, is there is there a diverse representation within the congregation?
The congregation itself, when I was there, was majority white, but there were other races there as well. I know currently I think it's a middle school pastor and the prayer director are both black.
Mm,
The There's a couple Mexicans on staff as well. So like they're diverse. So
on
I'm thinking
paper.
on paper, yeah. So I'm thinking this comment may have been before they got hired or it's just off whatever.
And
Yeah, I was like,
it and yeah, and just because they've hired
yeah.
people that aren't white, it doesn't make them less racist.
I was like, who says that?
Racist
Racists say that, yep.
specifically.
Oh my god.
So wait, so you said the pastor, or you said, like, middle school teacher. So does the church also have a school, like a whole like a K through 12 school?
So they have like their youth group, which is there's a middle school and then the high school. They separated it out, but they do have it's called Kenneth Copeland Bible College, which is an accredited Bible college,
Mm.
which started, I think it's in its third or fourth year now.
Oh, okay, so it's pretty new.
Yeah, it's relatively new, but it's like fully accredited. They were
I'm
trying
just
to
like
convince me to go because of the other cult I was in, and I was like, "Nah, I'm good."
you're like, "I'm all culted out," you
Like,
know?
I'm good. Like, I'm at 2, I think I'm at my max. Like, I'm
Yeah, yeah.
good.
You served your time. You served your time.
Yeah. Like, I think I'm good.
How did you get out of the other one? And honestly, how did they rope you in? How did that church rope you into going into this other cult? Did you have to
So,
move to Louisiana?
I did. So when
What?
I Kenneth Copeland Ministries hired this other group out to, like, work those big conventions in Texas in the youth.
Mhm.
So they did all of the preaching, but they also did like their own like worship. They had like a drama team. So like all you see is like this fun, energetic, people love what
Yeah.
they're doing. So when I applied, you have to apply to go and you have to pay to be there. I
Wait,
applied.
pause. You have to
Yeah.
you have to pay to go there
Yep.
to do all of their labor for free.
Yeah.
You're lucky you got to do that. You're so lucky you were chosen.
Oh my
These
God, I feel so blessed.
hashtag blessed.
Hashtag blessed.
Oh, these freaking people.
It's wild. Yeah, I applied. I lived in Iowa at the time. They were based out of Minnesota at Mac Hammond's church.
Okay.
I don't know if you know.
I don't. I'm not familiar.
He's not as crazy as Kenneth. So, but
Well,
he,
everyone
he
looks less crazy next to Kenneth,
true.
if I'm being
But
honest.
I know Mac Hammond's church did cover up a lot of what was happening at this other cult. So you're looking it up, aren't you? I
Dang
know.
right.
Got a lot of information over here.
Why does it want to know my location when I did that? Shit.
Can't hide anymore. Yeah.
So you applied, they said, "We're gonna bless you with the opportunity to be trafficked by us." And so
They
then you had
had
to relocate?
marketed it as an internship,
Yeah.
and then they said it was accredited, or they were working on it.
Oh, okay.
And so they said, "Yeah, like, you can travel, you can, like, do all this stuff." So I applied. I get there, I had already paid because I paid up front and non-refundable, of course. They were like, "Oh, you actually have to stay home and stay on the home team and go through an entire Bible course."
What?
Yeah, so Kenneth Copeland's ministries hired out the other cult I was in for those conventions to keep working the youth events. So the 2 years I was in that other cult, I was also labor trafficking for
Gotcha.
Kenneth Copeland. Yep.
Yeah, they were double dipping
They
with
were
you.
double dipping.
Mhm. That sounds exhausting.
I still have trouble sleeping.
Oh my gosh. How much were you working? Like, what did you have
So,
time to do anything else?
oh my God, no. And like with the other cult, Kenneth, it's kind of the same way, but like we weren't allowed caffeine because we weren't relying on the spirit.
Uh, that's
They
very
would
Mormon.
Pretty Mormon, yep. They would wake us up in the middle of the night if they felt like we were in sin to run.
What?
Yep. I completely blame Kenneth. I was like, if you had not hired them, I would not have ended up here.
Yeah. Did you feel like you were stuck there then because were you committed for a certain amount of time?
I finished the first year I was there. And so I went back for a second year. Because they had a program that I was actually interested in. Um, it was called the School of Missions. I don't know if it's still around, but like it was basically teaching you the ins and outs of like how to be a missionary, which is what I
Mhm.
thought I wanted to do.
Yeah,
years of indoctrination. That's what
of
anyone
course.
wants to do.
Oh, yeah. That's
Go
the
to
ultimate.
China. Yep. Be a missionary.
Yep.
So I went back my second year for that. Um, and then the leader of that cult had told me basically if I don't come back for a third year, I would be a failure. I was like, oh, okay. So I applied for a third year. Somebody else got my application, pulled me
What?
aside, and was like, you need to leave. I'm denying you.
Really?
Hmm.
Interesting.
And him and his wife left the next year.
Good for him. Oh, ugh, that makes me happy.
Yep, they're actually in Colorado. They're like an hour and a half
Oh,
away from me. I haven't seen them yet, but they're here.
love that journey for both of you.
I know. I was like, oh my goodness.
Wow. They're like, "We're getting out and we're gonna try to take you with us to save you."
Yeah, they left like a year after I did. They moved to Texas, as you do.
Mhm.
Went to EMIC, which is Eagle Mountain International Church, which is Kenneth's church. Um, and they were there for about a year and they started seeing the problems. So
Mhm. Ooh, that's heavy. So did you withdraw your application then?
I didn't even withdraw it. He just rejected it.
Oh, that's right, you said that, yeah. Okay.
He was just like, "I am rejecting this." I think it was more of a protect you thing
Yeah,
because it shows it was rejected instead of I
yeah,
withdrawed. Yeah.
yeah. Because he knew the consequences or the
Mhm.
backlash that you would get. Well, that I mean, honestly, that's that's really nice.
I know, I was like, I will forever be thankful to
Yeah,
him for being
he's
like,
real
"You
for
need
that.
to leave." Yeah. I was like, he's a good one."
Yeah, truly. Especially if he knew that there was the chance that you would have said something to someone about him saying that to you.
Yeah.
Like, so
I
risky.
the only one that knows he said that, I actually met my best friend when I was in the cult. So the only one that knows he said that is her.
Are y'all still good friends?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's good. Was she able to get out?
Yes, so she left the year we left the same year,
Okay.
and then she ended up going back to help with just, like, staffing needs.
Mhm.
They were paying her 30 cents an hour.
That's somehow more insulting than not paying someone at all.
Exactly. Like, just don't like, 30
Just
cents? What am I gonna do with that?
did that have some like symbolic meaning? Like, what is the point?
I don't know.
What is the point to a lot of this shit, honestly? I feel like I ask that all the time because I'm like, "What? Just don't be shitty." Like, why is it that hard?
Just be nice, like
Just be fair and nice and have some integrity and some empathy. It's so frustrating. Get
yeah,
so fed up with it. Well,
yeah.
good. I'm glad you and your best friend were both able to get out. That's awesome. And it's helpful to have people in your corner or like have friends who kind of understand the nuances and things from very specific groups because it's really hard to
Mhm.
describe a lot of those things to people who haven't been involved.
Yeah, we have a Facebook group. I think there's 160 or 170 of us in it. Um, and it's more of just like a support
Yeah,
group, I guess. Like I posted something in there the other day. I was like, "Hey, like I had this trigger. Is this normal?" And everyone was like, "Yeah, I have that too."
that's awesome. Yeah, it's just like good to have some validation. There's all of that like brainwashing stuff that goes on and then the guilt that you feel, the shame that you feel, all of these things. It's so difficult to like step back from that and undo it. And having someone to validate
Mhm.
that that's not your therapist is really helpful sometimes.
Especially with stuff like this, like after 20 years, I was like, "Yeah, this isn't that crazy."
Yeah.
And then like I'll just like say stuff to my boyfriend and he's like, "What are you talking about?"
Like, "What? That's not normal? What do
Like,
you"
"Well, that's not normal for you?" And he's like,
Huh.
"What are you saying to me right now?" And I was like, "Oh, okay."
They're like, "So, yeah, your normal baseline is just so off, like, kilter. It's so disproportionate to normal people when you've lived this kind of
It's
life."
so bad. Like, my therapist is like, "Yeah, we need to, like, deprogram you." And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'm trying."
Let's do that. And it's like you want it to speed up, you wanna deprogram faster, and then
You
every time,
can't.
like, at least personally, it's like every time I, because 'cause I've been out, like, 16, 17 years at this point, and even now, after years of therapy, I will think, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I've made progress," and then I'll have something trigger me.
Yep.
I'm like, "Mother effer, I
Like,
thought,
where did that come from?
why am I not healed yet? Damn it."
Like, it's been so long. It just feels like it takes forever.
Yeah, it does. Because, well, both of us for sure. I mean, we started getting involved in that type of indoctrination, even if it wasn't to the heightened levels that it ended up becoming. That
Mhm.
indoctrination started while your brain was still developing, and that really screws children children, but as adults, because rewiring your brain, like those neural pathways, it's not it can be done, but it takes such a long freaking time,
It
especially when it's happened as
does.
a child, when that all of that trauma happened as a child, all of that brainwashing happened when you're a kid. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, just, like, a constant, and then, like, because of Kenneth, it was, like, no secular music, no secular TV. I just was like, it was just constant indoctrination.
Yeah, nonstop, especially when you're not allowed any type of outside opinion or influence or way of thinking. It really shuts down
Mhm.
critical thinking aspect of being a human, like, subdues that tremendously.
Yeah, and I was homeschooled from 3rd grade all the way
I was
through
about to ask
graduation. Yep,
you.
I was. Yep.
Yeah, girl. Let's go.
Yep, so when I started playing soccer, like, for public school, it was just, like, a completely different experience, and I
First
did
of
not
all,
know
you
how to
little
handle it.
heathen. So worldly.
Oh my god, I just wanted to play a sport.
Mm-mm. Yeah, see, that's of the devil.
Well, damn it.
That's why you're not in the church anymore. It all started with soccer.
That's all it took, was just a soccer ball.
So, wait, how old were you when you started playing with the public school?
I so I remember I started playing soccer and I was, like, 6 or 7, but it was, like, I mean, 6 or 7, all 6 and 7-year-olds are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But I started playing public s 11 or 12, I think. Which, I mean, it
And you
wasn't horrible at that point, but, like, once I started getting to, like, 14 or 15, I started to notice the difference.
do you have siblings? Were you all homeschooled?
I do, I have a younger brother.
Okay. And how was that homeschool experience?
It was fine, like, we get along, he's a year and a half younger than me, so
How
we're
was
pretty
it
close.
education-wise?
Education was fine, he is significantly smarter than me.
I doubt it.
So,
No, see, I'm the second born, and I've noticed, and my brother included, and super annoying, it's like the oldest child is always, like, super like, book smart, brain smart. I got the street
we
smarts personally. I'm just kidding.
we're reversed, like, I have the street smarts, like, he
Okay,
has the book smarts,
alright.
but it was fine, like, we're still close, it wasn't horrible. We did use all Christian curriculum up until about
Was it a Becca?
we used Abeka and Bob Jones.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Mhm, and then I don't remember the name of the science.
But it was like the Christian
Yep,
Science,
it was all
yeah,
Christian.
because evolution
Is the devil.
is the devil.
Definitely didn't
Yeah,
happen.
it's gotta be creationist.
Yep, like, this
And
one man just, like, changed the course of my life.
for real. And parents get involved in these types of things thinking like they're doing the right thing, like it's the best thing for their children. Sometimes they think that. Um, and that's what sucks is a lot of good people get sucked into these situations
Mhm.
thinking that because leadership is saying like this is the way, this is the church, this is God's chosen whatever. And so parents get involved and they were like, "Oh, I want my family involved in that. I want my children brought up in something that's anointed by God, being that close to God." But it's just covert abuse.
Yeah, it's just really sad to watch. And then just like how they treat their volunteers is just bad. Like, I'm labor trafficking, just like their
Yeah.
whole thing.
It's a money-making business.
Yeah.
They don't have to they
Yes.
can get all of these donations saying, you'll be closer to God and through giving, through your money, and then not have to really pay out anything. Like, it decreases their overhead
Yeah,
significantly
it
by not having
does.
to pay people.
Yeah, it does. They have so many like volunteers that just like do stuff for free.
It should be illegal.
Like I feel
Instead, it's tax-free, tax exempt.
like I was talking to my boyfriend about it because he did grow up kind of religious, not as religious, and he asked me what I think about taxing churches, and I was like, don't tax like the little ones. Like the little churches that are there because they want to be and they're not trying to like take people's money. I was like, leave
Yeah,
them alone. But I'm like, these mega churches that are worth $800 million
right.
that
But how do
aren't,
you determine who has good intentions and who
yeah,
doesn't? And all of these mega churches started small at one point.
yeah,
And where does it go wrong? I mean, it's rhetorical. There's no answer to that, but
yeah, it's
because not
just,
every church is bad. I'm not anti-religion or anti-church.
yeah, I'm not either.
But I am anti-control and
Yeah,
coercion and power trips and taking advantage of people. I'm anti all of that, and it's so prevalent in churches
hmm.
because they can prey on well-meaning people and good intended people to do pull off stunts like this.
Yeah, people ask me since I've moved if I've started going to church, and I'm like, no. I was like, I'm
Yeah,
scared it's gonna happen again. And I was like, the
yeah,
only way to prevent that is just to not go.
yeah.
My boyfriend isn't a Christian. Like, if you ask him, he says he's Luciferian. He's not, but
But it's a fun answer.
exactly. But it's like he's not. So I'm like, okay. Like,
Yeah,
I'm fine with where I'm at. I'm not risking ending up in like a similar situation.
right. And you have to protect yourself at the end of the day, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally.
I felt like Kenneth was just like following me everywhere.
Ugh,
Cause like in
his
Texas, he's just everywhere.
with his
Like
beady little
everyone
eyes.
knows. Ever since I've been in Colorado, I've had one person that has known who he is.
Really?
And it's
Really?
right? Yeah, it's because she was Jehovah's Witness. That's the only reason she knew. And no one else knows.
I'm surprised by that. Maybe I just know more familiar because I live in Arkansas, so not that far.
Yeah.
And being raised and like just in the Bible Belt as a whole,
Oh yeah,
all of
it's
those names are
completely
pretty
different.
familiar. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
a
think
different
she
world.
said she was from Oklahoma or something, and that's why she knew. But
Oh, okay.
like she's
That
literally
makes
the only
sense.
person finding jobs up here. No one knows. Like I don't have to explain anything to you.
Nope. You're like, it's a cult.
I'm just like waiting until it's been long enough. I can just like drop that off my
Yeah.
resume.
Just like under your breath, I was in a cult.
Yes.
Same here. I was in a cult.
No one believes me. And I'm like, listen,
Is there anything else that you want to divulge about the Kenneth experience?
about the Kenneth experience. Just like it's like I said, when you're in there, you don't think it's that bad. Just because you're like, well, you're around it. What ended up being the final straw for me quitting is in August of 2021, they had their big convention in Texas. So, height of COVID, right?
Mhm.
I had been complaining about not feeling well, and they were like, "Oh, you're probably fine. It's probably just exhaustion." Um,
No
so
shit.
yeah,
They're
right?
working you like a horse.
For me 12 hours a day. But so the ministry does have an like on-site clinic with a
Mm.
licensed nurse practitioner. I ended up calling her. I was like, "Hey, I'm taking like 1,000 milligrams of extra strength Tylenol every 4 hours and it's not doing anything." So she had me go in. I tested positive the week before the big convention. So a bunch of people there got it. The ministry at the time was about 500 staff members. 300
Ooh.
people ended up going out with COVID.
What?
Yep. So I took, the mandatory 2 weeks that you're supposed to take in quarantine at the time. They called me to tell me when my 2 weeks was up, and I was like, "Hey, like, I'm still having symptoms, like, I need to still stay home." And they're like, "Well, you have to use your vacation time."
Oh my God.
And I was like, "I already have, like, a pre-planned, paid for vacation." And they were like, "Well, then cancel it."
The audacity.
So that was August. My pre-planned vacation was in like the end of September because I was meeting my boyfriend in person for the first time the following week.
Ooh,
Yeah.
exciting. Little
So,
lovebirds.
right? So I went on vacation the end of September, came back, went to see him for the first time, quit 3 weeks later. Used up all my
Woo!
vacation time, quit.
I love that. Ooh, I love that for you.
Yeah, so I went to work at Amazon, worked there for 11 months, and then moved up here.
That's amazing. I'm so glad
Oh
you
my
got away
god,
from that.
I, like, look back on it, I'm like, "This was wild."
Yeah. How do you feel now? How's life for you now?
Life is getting there. I had 2 layoffs last year, which
Mm.
sucked, but I have a job now. I've been here for 7 months. Absolutely love it. Feel like it's my first big girl
Oh,
job.
good.
Um,
Yay!
I know. Like,
Congratulations,
it
that's
sounds so
exciting.
much cooler than it actually is, but I love the job. I moved out of Denver about a month and a half ago. This Denver is getting crazy.
Mm,
Like,
I've
life is
heard.
Denver is wild.
All
It
that
is
weed
all the
y'all are
weed.
smoking out there?
Denver just constantly smells like weed. Yeah, no, I'm just having to, like, learn how to be happy. After 20
Mm,
however many years of this one man dictating my life, whether he knew it or not. Like, I'm
you
having to
know.
just, like, relearn how to be happy. I'm just, like, waiting for, like, some crazy story to break from that church.
It's statistically, it's a matter of time.
Like, I'm just,
It's
like,
probably gonna happen.
waiting because there was, like, the whole Hillsong thing and then Joel
Mhm.
Osteen, and I'm just, like, waiting.
Maybe it'll be that tape you told me about.
Maybe now I'm gonna see if I can go find it.
I love it. I want that to come. I don't love the tape. Let me be clear. I love that there's the potential that it could come
Mhm.
back up and show people who he really is. Because people should know, especially anyone, and especially any person who's not Caucasian in his audience working for him,
Yep.
thinking that he's a man of God and he's out here spewing all of this hate. Everyone deserves to know that
Mhm.
truth.
My boyfriend's Mexican, like, full Mexican, with the widest name possible, but he's Mexican, and I'm like, "This hurts."
Is his name Ethan? No, I'm kidding. He
No.
feels very white.
No, his
I I have a brother with that name, I can say it.
oh, no, his name's Kevin, he doesn't care.
Oh my god, that is
See, it's, like, the widest name possible, but he's just
the
Mexican.
only the only whiter name could maybe be Chad or Brad, but Kevin, that's for sure
Very
top
white.
3.
Exactly. Like, it's the widest name possible, but he's Mexican, and I was like, "This hurts."
Yes. Yes. Yeah, and we won't stand for it.
No, which I guess me having a Mexican boyfriend in that church was a very big deal, so
First it's soccer, then it's a Mexican
meh.
boyfriend. What's next? Worshiping Satan? Probably.
One of my friends told me I should say that because he lives in San Antonio. He never went to Kenneth's church, but of course he knows who Kenneth is, and he's like, "You should say you worship Satan."
Or join the Church of Satan, although they don't actually worship Satan, which is the irony of it all, and I just think it's so freaking funny.
It's hilarious. Like, I was looking into it, and I was like, "Christians talk more about Satan than the actual Church of Satan."
No, literally. They're obsessed with Satan. They're kind of fangirling over Satan.
They do. And I was like, they give especially that church, like, anything that goes bad, they're like, "Oh, it's Satan. Oh, it's attack of the
That's the
devil."
devil.
And
Yep.
I'm like, "Not everything is an attack of the devil. You need to calm down."
Sometimes shitty things happen, and also, they would know the world is full of shitty people, and guess what people like that do? Shitty things.
Things, yeah, exactly. Like the whole COVID thing, they blamed it as an attack of the devil. And I was like, because you don't give us time off when we're sick. Like this whole thing could have been avoided.
That honestly makes them the devil
You
by their
said
own,
it with their own standards.
yeah. Well, I loved talking about this, honestly. Thank you for like reaching out and wanting to talk about it in the first place, because I've kind of dabbled in talking about like mega churches or
Mhm.
like televangelists. I did like the thing on Hillsong or whatever, but it's always been on my list of things that I would like to kind of dig into more. The Kenneth Copelands, the Joel Osteens.
Yep.
So I appreciate this conversation. You can find more interviews just like this on my Culture Shock playlist and hang out with me over on Patreon to get all of the good stuff that will never make it here. Since you're already living, laughing, and leaving cults, maybe you should take 3 to 4 minutes to send me your story or suggestion or even your best dad joke. The link to do that is in this video's description. Bye!